Eleanor was a quiet woman who had spent her entire life holding on to the traditions of her ancestors. She still wore simple clothes, cooked meals from old recipes, and started every morning with prayer. To her, these were not just habits, they were the foundation of life. But the world around her was changing. The younger generation laughed at her. Her own daughter-in-law would often say, "Mother, the world has moved on. Who cares about these outdated customs? We live in modern times now." Neighbors whispered that Eleanor was stuck in the past. Even her grandchildren avoided her stories, preferring phones and television over sitting at her feet. She felt invisible in the very community where she had once been respected. Then one day, the town faced a crisis. Families were falling apart, neighbors were quarreling over petty issues, and young people were losing their sense of identity. The community had wealth, but no peace. Everyone felt something was missing, but no one knew what. Eleanor watched in silence, but inside her heart, she knew the answer. She decided to act, not with arguments or anger, but with quiet strength. She began opening her home every weekend. She would cook traditional dishes, invite children to sit with her, and tell them the stories of their ancestors. She taught them songs that carried lessons of kindness, respect, and unity. She reminded parents of old practices that kept families strong, like eating together at one table, honoring elders, and supporting neighbors in times of need. At first, only a handful of people came. Some were curious, some were skeptical, but slowly they began to feel something they hadn't felt in years, a sense of belonging. The meals were simple, but they carried warmth. The songs were old, but they touched hearts. The stories were ancient, but they healed wounds. Word spread quickly. More families began to gather at Eleanor's house. Children who once ignored her now begged to hear her tales. Even her daughter-in-law, who had once mocked her, started learning recipes and traditions from her. Soon Eleanor's home became the heart of the community. Disputes settled, families grew closer, and young people carried pride in their heritage. The very traditions people had dismissed as outdated became the glue that held the town together. Eleanor, once overlooked and ridiculed, was now respected more than ever. People came to her for guidance, blessings, and wisdom. She proved to everyone that true traditions are never outdated. They are timeless treasures that give strength to the future. And as she looked around her home, filled with laughter, songs, and love, Eleanor whispered softly to herself, "The world may change, but wisdom never gets old."